Welcome, dear viewers, to our Stop the Destruction of the World program. Today our program is specifically focused on an issue that is exploding in the media. It's also being discussed in business circles and families. This issue is what will happen to the world economy because of the great decay of the American empire. In 1984, when we were living and working in New York, we launched a campaign based on a book Dr. Keppe wrote while he was there called The Decay of the American People and the United States. In this book, Keppe conducts an analysis of the psychosocial pathology of America along with all the implications of this. He looked at how the American empire began decaying, which it had at that time, and what would have to be done to stop further decay. And not only would this analysis help that nation, which was such an active country, their past action was so useful and beautiful, but all nations linked to the U.S. policy and economy, even today, would be benefited. And nearly all nations on Earth are linked to the U.S., even the communist bloc. In this book from 1984, Dr. Keppe, you were already launching a campaign, and you say this on page 5.
This is it here, this one.
This one is in English, The Decay of the American People and the United States. The Decay of the American People and the United States. Here Dr. Keppe says that it is not only a financial and economic decay, but a decay of the nation as a whole, including of the American people. Keppe says, no atomic war will be necessary to bring about the end of the United States. The Berlin Wall still existed at the time, the Cold Wars were still going on, and the agreement between Reagan and Gorbachev on atomic missiles had not yet been signed. This was a period of distinctive communist and capitalist blocs. So the fear of war was imminent, constant for all of us in humanity. But Keppe was alerting the American people that nuclear war was not necessary to bring about the end of the United States. This country was already, and still is, in a grave state of decay similar to the Roman Empire. Today, almost 30 years after the scientific psychosocial campaign was begun, I think no one questions anymore the point to which this nation has fallen, this great nation from the past, the United States of America.
We were even publishing our newspaper there, the Trilogy paper. I have one here for you to see. The front page of this edition has the cover of this book, The Decay of the American People and of the United States.
Fight American Decay, which means fight against the decay of the United States. This is something the people must mobilize to do. And we also did TV programs, didn't we? Yes, we did.
And look at who we sent this book to in the United States. Would you like to read here, Claudia?
Ronald Reagan, George Bush, Frederick Ryan, Robert Smalley, William Baker, Philip Ferris.
Does it say who these people are?
The U.S. State Department, the U.S. Justice Department, the Office of the U.S. Defense Secretary, the U.S. Arms Control and Disarmament Agency, the U.S. Department of Commerce, the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, U.S. House of Representatives. All of them, without exception, received this. Governors, mayors, all received it. All received it. Even the National Security Agency, right, Dr. Keppe? It isn't listed here. We received a rush order from the National Security Agency, which is one of the top security agencies in the U.S., They wanted us to rush them this book in May 1988.
Now, in this book I was already showing the decay of that nation and of its people, and it was written in 1985. And, you know, it's not only decay in the economy. Selma, would you read exactly what kind of decay I point out here?
Many different kinds of decay. As well as economics, there's decay in finance, in work, in business, including small businesses, decay in industry, in defense, decline in population, in agriculture, in sports, in productivity, in youth, in administration, political decay, and decay in education. Also decay in ethics, as you point out, the decay in psychology, in aesthetics, in religion. And on it goes.
I received an interesting magazine today that talks about the apocalypse. Look how interesting. But this apocalypse, well, let's see. Selma, read this final part here. The very final part.
And the planet trembled in its last days. The problems in the United States and some European countries have caused stock markets to crash all over the world, causing a wave of hysteria and a cloud of uncertainty to form over the future of the global economy. To what extent are these apocalyptic predictions true? Is the planet really in danger? Discover what speculation and the financial crisis is and why Brazil is more prepared than ever to face it.
At the moment, everyone is talking about Wall Street, the money speculation there. So I'd like to put up a slide now to clarify this question of Wall Street.
Wall Street is a huge bubble. First, it's a process of pure speculation.
You can see that in an overall way, a stock market does not belong to the country's main economy. We are speaking principally in relation to the United States. The stock market is just to speculate with money. It's organized by those who are skilled at making transactions. For example, a company has its stock, which today is valued low, but this stock price will begin to rise. So by the afternoon, for example, it could have gone up several points. Today they buy for 10, and they sell it later for 20 or 30 at some higher price. These people are called speculators. In this way, they are individuals who live off the work of other people, because money comes from work. Now, if the amount of money is much higher than the value of the work, then it's clear that this creates a bubble with no real value whatsoever. So, referring back to the slide, let's see the second one.
Wall Street is against the real economy.
Wall Street is against Main Street, and it's Main Street where the principal economy of the country actually comes from. So what is falling then? The magazine talks about the apocalypse, and it's an apocalypse for sure, but only for the speculators, not for the people. Mr. Manteiga, who is currently Brazil's finance minister, has been interviewed by us, and he knows clearly that speculation is dangerous for the country. The Bovespa, which is Brazil's Wall Street, has never had much movement to it, which is a stroke of luck for us, because this apocalypse is in relation to the investors. Now, I'd like to say something of interest to everyone. A person who does this type of investing is a dishonest person. This is a person who wants to make money without doing any kind of necessary work, just like gambling at a casino. But it's a type of gambling that's better than at a casino because casinos have their crooked way of limiting the winnings up to a certain point. And they control the roulette wheel, for example, in order to cause a person to lose everything. Wall Street is not like that. It keeps going. A person can, however, suddenly lose everything because at the end of the day, it's gambling. But people who are good at this type of gambling always become millionaires. When we lived in New York, we often heard people commenting about someone who had become a millionaire overnight on the stock market. And how? Because there was an incredible stock market growth there promoted by Reagan. Let's see now number 3, referring back to the chart.
Wall Street destroys productive work.
With the possibility of making easy money, who is going to want to work hard in life? And the 4th point, let's see.
Wall Street encourages human pathology.
The newspapers, magazines, all talk about how you can become a millionaire. So they encourage this delusion, this delirium. And of course, everyone wants to be rich. Who doesn't?
Making money while they sleep.
Especially making money easily. Now, the bandits who rob people in restaurants, on the streets, or at the beaches, they think, well, those guys up there are making loads of money doing nothing. And what about me then? I'll do the same. You see, it is this theft, let's say, at the highest level that serves as an example for the low-level criminals. Let's see now the 5th point.
Wall Street is a completely virtual process. Delirious, actually, because it does not really exist.
And the observation.
The stock exchange takes the human out of reality and leads him to an artificial experience.
And so it makes the human being crazy. We'll be right back. I'd like to show you now a photo of a famous scene. Let's see.
Wall Street, New York.
What is Wall Street? It's the famous New York stock market that sustains practically the entire country. There are those who even put their retirement money there in order to have a monthly income later when they retire. Now, let's see a new slide in relation to this question of the stock market.
The stock market crash. A stock market crash is actually a crash of the delusional fantasies of the first world.
The first world, meaning the United States, Europe, Japan, they are countries that live more on their reputation of producing goods, at least as they did in the past. The United States used to produce 50% of the world's production. A fortune flowed into that country every year that really stimulated the GDP, which is the economy of each country. Then, through the use of the stock market, Reagan introduced a complete money speculation system in order to protect the thieves That is, those who play the stock market without working. So, with a complete crash of the stock market, let's see what would happen.
A stock market crash marks the end of the envious and greedy people.
For those who live off of what others produce, in this case, the money in the stock markets that are produced by others, people who do this are very ill indeed. They are envious, greedy individuals. As Claudius said, it's now termed a disease, a term that many economists are using to describe what is happening in the world. That this type of conduct is a disease.
We have a disease here. Exactly. Social disease, an economic disease. Society is ill. Finally, the world is waking up.
Now, let's see the next one, number 3.
A crash of the stock market is a return to the true reality, which is work. People get desperate with these artificial disasters rather than the natural disasters, which can really destroy. Another point, Dr. Keppe, is that the economy is very much based on what destroys the environment.
Yes, and for example, very few people know that there may be a planet heading toward us. 3,666 years ago, this planet caused a worldwide flood, as is stated in the Bible. And this body, this problem that's approaching, most people don't know anything about this, but the governments do. So returning to this question of the stock markets, let's see this next slide.
There was no stock market crash. What happened was we became conscious that this money didn't exist.
Do you perceive? For example, how could a person ever count $1 billion? How long, how many weeks would it take him? So this shows that it's something artificial.
They are numbers on a computer, right?
Yes, this encourages human megalomania and arrogance. You can see clearly that people have a lot of respect for those with money. The people think that the rich are the ones who provide the means for everyone to live, when actually it's the people that make it possible for the rich to make money. It's the opposite of what is generally thought. Who is of real value is the people, not those with money who just pass along some crumbs like minimum wage. What is that, minimum wage? Money was made for all human beings because the wealth of humanity is money. And just see now who is very responsible for this situation.
Ronald Reagan, 1911 to 2004.
Another interesting thing that happened when I wrote this book. Let me show it to you once again. We gave this book to Reagan in Santa Barbara, where he used to go horseback riding.
At his ranch, huh?
In California. And the man got furious because we gave to him an analysis of exactly the problems that he created.
Reaganomics.
With Reaganomics, as it's called.
Today he's considered the president who caused the most damage to the United States and to the world because of his financial economic policy called Reaganomics.
Now, we need to say here at this point that it's not only the U.S. stock market that is in decay. The stock markets in other countries also, like Germany, France, Italy, like in England, Japan, the world's stock markets are also in decadence. This is why they are saying that the emerging countries, the countries that live on natural wealth of work, are the ones that are growing today. So consider well, Brazil won't suffer any problem at all with this stock market problem. The Brazilian Wall Street, Bovespa, is over. It didn't work out here in Brazil. There are so many natural resources, natural riches in Brazil. We have oil, we have iron, magnesium, niobium, which is vitally important for the construction of spacecraft. Our agriculture is incredible.
Water and soil.
We produce all year round. We have everything. So we should dispense with this stock market where people invest their money here not in benefit of Brazil, but they then extract all they can, just take it out for themselves. This does nothing for Brazil. So this would be a stock market to sustain Wall Street. Let's see this sentence that clarifies something about Wall Street.
We need to preserve Main Street, which is productive activity, not Wall Street, which is the financial market.
The market economy isn't the real economy. You see, the market must be subordinate to the economy, and not this thing of creating an economy of the market. That's totally different. The stock market is a desire to build an economy based on speculation instead of productivity. It's based on what is extracted from the stock market. Now, I'd like to show us a slide that clarifies what investments are exactly.
It's not investment that brings progress to the country.
This issue of the stock market and its investments, of pulling money from the stock market to invest, for example, in manufacturing something. A person wants to set up a factory, let's say. So he takes out a loan. And instead of paying back the 100 he borrowed, he'll have to pay back 1,000. It will cost him an arm and a leg. So this investment that he is using isn't to his benefit. It benefits the banks that charge a huge interest. And so this is what happens to the people.
Dr. Keppe, you know the so-called investors who come here from the first world. Most or many of them come here to get money from the BNDES bank, which means that the country itself is financing production and receiving very low interest. This is robbery.
And not only that, but sometimes the country provides things for these people for free.
Tax exemptions.
For example, exempting them from paying taxes. For the multinationals. You see the situation we are in. Do you know what the Swedish people say about their economy? Where does most of their money come from? They say it comes from Sao Paulo. That is, it goes from Sao Paulo to Sweden. That's why I wrote another book explaining this problem.
Liberation of the people.
Let's see, it's here. Liberation of the people. I wrote it there in the United States to incentivize, to encourage the Americans to return to work, to go back to industrialization, to agriculture, to real production. Let's see what I've written here now.
What brings development is the work of industries, of agriculture and commerce.
Notice that we need to put work at the base. Whatever type of work it may be, it's work that produces the goods. What good does it do if a person has, let's say, 70 billion in gold stored beneath the ground? It's not good for the crazy ones who do this type of thing, and much less so for the people who can't benefit from it. People say, wow, he has 50 billion. But this is a person who is completely disturbed. What is this admiration that we have for them? Aristotle had already said that the value of money comes from its use, and not from stashing gold bars away in underground vaults. They take it out of the mountain and bury it somewhere else. Let's see the next one.
Investment brings debt and slavery to the nations. Observation. The United States, Germany, Japan, China, are examples where only work brings wealth and progress.
By the way, I've just written a book entitled Slavery and Freedom. This book was released last week, and it has as its objective to show us how we can free ourselves from slavery, from the pathology of the powerful ones, from the laws they create that are destroying all the nations of the earth.
Dr. Keppe, here's our publisher's website for any of you who are interested in the books you've mentioned in our program. Until next time.